So far, since getting involved in precision rifle, I think since about 2014, 2015, when Uncle Ron decided he wanted to take a 300 Winchester Magnum and a 200 grain, 220 grain Sierra Match King and try and hit something a mile away with, let's say, equipment that was nowhere near designed to do the job, and it became a real steep learning curve, precision ammo and everything, and a 100% re-equipping everything that I owned at the time. I didn't have a rifle that was remotely capable of the level of accuracy needed to do something like that. And then that finally pushed me into the Santa Margarita Gun Club. Traded a motorcycle for a rifle and a bunch of ammo. I turned around and sold the ammo, or sold the rifle, which was a commercial M1 Garand tanker from like the 1970s when those things were popular. Springfield Armory built. That allowed me to buy a Remington stainless 5R with a HS Precision stock, and then Ron, for payment of some gunsmithing, bought me a Leupold Mark IV with a TMR reticle on there. That got me going in the right direction there. And then I started learning how to load 308. Started off neck sizing and learned the hard way that that's not the way to develop the best accuracy. Unfortunately, I learned that a little too late and changed calibers to 6XC, cartridge developed by David Tubb, cartridge that shot a clean at the Nationals. I believe that was 2001, 2002, somewhere around there, early on. Yeah, he cleaned the entire match, not just 1 day's worth of shooting, but the entire match, as in, I think the Nationals are a 4-day event, something like that. He cleaned the entire match, the across the course, the mid-range, and the long range. He cleaned the entire match. Granted, this is with this is high power, so they're shooting a 1 minute of angle X-ring, so it's the same as like a service rifle kind of target there. But no, what the whole thing is with this story is just sitting here thinking about, I went camping with my younger brothers and my daughter in November 2021. Matter of fact, it was Friday the 5th, Saturday the 6th, and Sunday the 7th. On the Saturday out there, I needed to get some testing done on my F-class rifle to prove that the barrel tuner was set and ready to go for 29 palms in 2 weeks, which at the time of this recording is only 3 days away. But I went out and I slapped up my bench rest targets on a cardboard target backer at 100 yards, and I put I think there's a dozen targets that I set up. I only shot 4. There was only 10 targets. I shot 4 targets, 3-round groups on each, making a setting change, 2 notches at a time on the tuner. Noticed right off the bat that my setting that I thought was good, that I shot a 230 thousandths group center to center. Thought that was good enough. There was a little bit of vertical stringing on that. Well, it was like almost all vertical stringing because it looked like a caterpillar on the target. It was 3 holes, very distinctively connecting, but also very distinctively nearly straight up and down, and I considered that good enough at the time. But I also kind of second guessed it. It's like, wait a minute, that's only one setting off of the zero setting on the tuner. So no, you need to do a little more testing than 2-3 shot groups. You need to push this out a little more. So go out and lay down behind the rifle, get everything set up, and I'm lining up the crosshairs. There's a square on a bench rest target. It's a little black square with a hollowed out white center, and I'm lining up the crosshairs on the left-hand side of the target of that square, and I'm lining up the horizontal crosshairs with the very bottom of this thing. And the crosshairs on my scope, it's a Vortex Golden Eagle 15 to 60 power scope with like a 50 or 52 millimeter or something like that objective on it. And the crosshairs are only 1/16 of a minute of angle wide, so they're very, very fine. And that allows you to get an extreme amount of precision if you're on a very, very stable platform, very stable rest. Well, Walter Lang gave me a three-dimensional joystick head, a Farley rest. I was trying to think of the name of it. It's a Farley that sits on top of this Caldwell heavy cast iron three-legged base. It does the job. And I've got a nice gator bag made by the New Mexico company. God, the name escapes me. But anyway, I get out there and I fire my first, make no changes to the tuner. I fire my first 3-round group. Well, I fire the first shot of my 3-round group, and I figure, oh crap, dialed the scope the wrong direction. I'm shooting above my point of aim, not below it. As you're trying to do an offset so that you can corner that square block and not actually hit where you're aiming at, so that you're not disturbing your point of aim by having a ragged hole open up in the center of your crosshairs, and you're kind of going, as the holes get more and more ragged, it becomes harder and harder to discern your center point of hold there. So you dial down an inch, and you put your bullets below that by an inch, so that, or more, whatever you want to do, just not where your crosshairs are laying on the target, because then it saves you the frustration of not having a clean spot to aim at all the time. I mean, you can move the group around the target anywhere you want. That's what the knobs on the scopes are for. You want the precision to be able to put the crosshairs back exactly where you had them every time, or at least to the best of your ability to be able to do that. So I go out there and I get laid down, and I don't have my shooting hat on. I don't have my eye flap for my left eye on. I'm squinting. I'm doing everything and I really should have taken the time to do this right. Needless to say, I did get away with it on this one, but I need to start taking the time to do these things and do them right. So the first 3-shot group out of the rifle, it spits around. I think I only fired 2 shots actually, because they were so far apart on that first 3-shot group. Besides the one that I fired above my point of impact, the 2 that I put below the point of aim just were so far apart. I knew that was a wrong setting. So get up, twist it 2 notches, get back down, line it back up again, new target, move over, new target, squeeze off around, drop another one in, line back up again, squeeze off around, and same thing. They're spread out. They're a little closer together, but they're spread out. This sucks. Make another change to the settings on the tuner. I put 1 round downrange, another round downrange. These 2 are touching. Okay, line it back up again. Pow! And it spits around. Low and left by like 1/2 inch. Nope. Still not there yet. Twist it 2 more notches on the thing, 1 more setting change, dial over, get down, edge the target nice and neatly. And I don't know if this is me getting used to the gun again, getting dialed in, getting warmed up, gun getting warmed up, But I take and I line my crosshairs up with that square again on the bottom left-hand corner. Come up and just kiss the edge, bottom and the left edge of that square, and I light off around, and it goes right into the center, just slightly low, but right into the center of the target. They're not really concerned about hitting a bullseye. I just want all 3 rounds to go through roughly the same hole at 100 yards, and that's, get it below a quarter minute of angle accuracy or better. I load another round, conscious about the chamber's hot, so don't close the bolt until you're ready to fire. Get down, get lined up. Okay, we're ready to go. Close the bolt, double check your alignment, finger up, hand resting on the bag, just touch the trigger in a gentle little increase in pressure. It's a 1.5 ounce jewel trigger, bench rest trigger, so it doesn't take much to set this thing off. And I see the group, I see the hole. It grew just a touch. So now I've got 2 bullet holes that are overlapped, slightly vertical, more like on a 45-degree angle to each other. I go, all right, this is good. So open the bolt, grab another round, drop it into the feed tray, get down on the gun, line it back up, take a deep breath, go. Don't screw this up. Take your time. You're here to prove the accuracy of the rifle. You've got to do everything you possibly can to eliminate human error. So I double checked to make sure that the rifle was pushed up against the stop on the rest, make sure it was centered on the bag, make sure my hand's on the bag the way it should be, make sure the only thing that's touching the stock is the heel of my palm and my index finger on the trigger, and get on the joystick and align the rifle and squint and get that thing. Oh, and by the way, squint. The sun is in my eyes because the sun's going down out there, so I'm dealing with that garbage too. I get this thing lined up, and it takes me a little bit to get this thing lined up. And I get her lined up really close, and then I close the bolt, and then I get her lined up again. I take a few seconds to get it lined up, and I reach down, and I just caress that trigger, and I think I missed because the group didn't grow at all. It didn't move. It didn't change. It didn't do anything. Now, I've pulled shots on this rifle, and usually when you pull a shot on this rifle, the bullet ends up going, inch and a half to the left or high, something weird like that. So if I was pulling a shot on this, I would expect to be on this little piece of paper that's about 5 inches by, it's about 3 by 5 inches, a big sticker. I would have expected the bullet to still be on there, just not anywhere near where I wanted it to be. Well, it wasn't. And it wasn't on the cardboard. It wasn't anywhere near there. There was nothing. And it wasn't until I got home and looked at this target with some magnification that I could faintly see a little tiny distortion in the holes that the 2 bullet holes made. And the third shot went right between and just off to the right of the last 2 shots, which is why it looked like I completely missed, because it basically passed completely clean through holes that were already there, and it just barely put a little partial radius cut in that little spot there. Now, the whole point of this, and granted, when I got home and I measured this group, the group was best I can measure. I'm not looking for bench rest. I'm not trying to do this, but under magnification, checking it with a set of calipers, 117 thousandths. Subtracting, you go edge to edge at the furthest point and subtract 1 bullet diameter. That gives you center to center, and you're done. 117 thousandths. Catalina has already shot a group at 100 thousandths. She shot a 343, 345. You subtract a 243 off and it ends up at 100 thousandths. I'm just going to call it 100 thousandths. Whatever. So she's already proven that the rifle and the load, her rifle and the load, is spot on perfect. And we had to do, tuning and stuff on that. We did that like a couple months back. It was October. It was either late September or early October we did it, because we just got the D-bids for Camp Pendleton renewed. Anyway, it just occurred to me, though, that, in my lifetime of shooting, I would read these gun magazines, and I would buy these gun books, and I would see these groups printed. You'd see a guy doing testing, Rick Jameson, Shooting Times, Lane Simpson of Shooting Times. These guys are out shooting, and they're shooting these rifles with these bitchin' loads. They work up a load. They do all this testing and stuff, and they come up with a load that puts 3 rounds through a cloverleaf style hole at 100 yards. I don't want to say that I didn't believe it, but I just didn't think anything like that was possible that for myself to achieve. I just didn't think that was something that I was capable of attaining. It's pretty astonishing now. I've got a couple of single hole, cloverleaf-ish, but one ragged hole on my 308 AR rifle, semi-auto, and that one's shooting 175 grain Sierra Match King boat tails. The Remington 700 with the original 5R 308, I got that load dialed in. That rifle shot multiple cloverleaf-ish 3 and 5 round groups. And then with this 6XC and the tuner, well, the gun would shoot a one ragged hole group without the tuner, but it wouldn't do it all the time. And this is with a load that had a standard deviation between 7 and 11. I haven't been able to get better than that, but there's also, it's new brass, and now all the brass has been once fired, so we're now getting into this area of the brass is proper for the chamber, minimal expansion for the chamber, things like that. We're using Federal bench rest primers. We're using IMR 4350. It's all being weighed on the auto throw, auto trickler on a A&D FX 120i laboratory scale that measures to the milligram, goes out 3 decimals on the gram scale, so it can go to a milligram, which is what I use to weigh out my powder. I've switched over to using milligrams instead of grains because of the rounding error on the scale. If you do the math, 0.001 grain, which is what the scale is capable of discerning to, is an odd number on a grain, and the rounding error can cause inconsistencies. So use the scale in the finest resolution you possibly can, and that'll get the scale working to the best of its ability, and then you don't have these rounding errors that it looks like you're throwing the same powder charge every time, but that number is rounded off by the computer in the scale to whatever's the closest number. So you may or may not be at the 39.0 grains, or 39.00, or at 39.02, or 38.98. You might not be exactly where you think you're in there, but if you go to the milligram, put it on the gram, and if you're plus or minus 1 milligram, well, that's a lot closer than plus or minus 2 hundredths of a grain. Or, 2 hundredths of a grain. It'd be 20 thousandths of a grain. Plus or minus 20 thousandths of a grain. But no, I just never thought it just occurred to me. I was sitting here at work, and it just occurred to me. It's just, I've shot the smallest group I've ever shot in my frickin' life, and I did everything. I built the rifle. I bought the reloading components. I built the ammunition. I did everything, start to finish. And the satisfaction of seeing the fruits of your labor materialize into a group that's so small that you could only see 2 bullet holes in, and you have to get it under magnification to be able to see the third, the evidence of a third hole. Not even a third hole, just the minor evidence of a third hole. That's pretty damn satisfying to know that, and it's hard to describe. It's amazing, and it's just all these years that I just thought that that one whole group, that cloverleaf, no matter what I did on some of my rifles, no matter what I did, it was just absolutely unobtainable. And now I'm of the mindset that if a competition rifle doesn't shoot a 1/4 inch group at 100 yards, there's something wrong with the gun or the load. There's something severely wrong here, and it needs to be fixed. It's not, oh, well, that's what it is, and no. This isn't Daddy's deer rifle. This isn't, the ability to build a rifle of what was considered bench grade accuracy 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I can build that in my garage. And it's bloody amazing because, in the 1990s, the most accurate rifle on the face of the earth was a Remington 40XB being shot by the bench rest guys, and world record at that time was probably in the high 100s. Minimum accuracy for a military or police sniper rifle was 1 minute of angle, and 3/4 of a minute of angle was considered the gold standard. Half minute of angle was just not even thought that you could have that in any sort of a rifle that was able to be deployed to the field. They just didn't exist. And now, my God, it's 2021 November, and I'd say for about the last 5 to 10 years, building a rifle under 1/4 of a minute of angle is not difficult. It takes a good gunsmith. It takes somebody that knows what the hell they're doing behind the lathe, and it takes about, at this point in time, with the gunsmith's labor included, it takes about $6,000, but it absolutely can be done. And there's, so seeing a video on YouTube from Eric Cortina, he shot a group at 1,053 yards, something like that, his range in Texas. And he had vertical stringing of the group. He shot a group that was about 1/8 of a minute of angle at 1,000 yards, and it was 5 rounds. I think he flubbed one shot, but he had like 4 or 5 shots there that were an inch and a quarter, 1.1 to 1.5, something like that. It was exceptionally tiny. And the cool thing was he got it on video. So there's no, and he got it on video. He was using a shot marker to record his shots, and he got all this, and it's just that level of accuracy. There's never been a greater time to be in rifle competition than right now. The quality of parts, the knowledge that's out there, the quality of components and brass and bullets, the level of help that you're going to get. There's a new school of thought running around with all these competitors where people are actually helping each other. They're not out there trying to protect their secrets like they used to freaking 30 years ago, and nobody would tell you anything, or you had to be in a special group with a special bunch of friends and that whole thing. That doesn't really exist so much anymore. There are rifles that you can buy and ammo that you can buy off the shelf that will outperform the best rifles from 30 years ago. That will vastly outperform rifles and ammo from 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, we thought we had our crap together too. There's no better time to be in competition than right now. I've got a daughter named Catalina. She's 13 years old. She's turning 14 here in another 6 months. And she's qualified or certified, classified. There you go. That's a bloody word I'm looking for. Classified CMP expert, long range. This kid, at 13 years old, I could shoot a .22 rifle, and I had a BB gun. That's all I had. She's got a full-blown F-class rifle that I built for, twin of my rifle, set up for her. She's got all the equipment to go with it. We had one of the members of the U.S. rifle team gave her an original Seb rest, which at the time was probably a $1,500, $2,000 rest. Just handed it to her like it was a Christmas present, which he did say, "Merry Christmas, Catalina." And, That was Walter Lang. He also gave me a Farley rest. He gave me that Farley top for mine. So the amount of help that you're going to get nowadays in this shooting community is just unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. You need to check your ego. This sport will make you humble. It will absolutely make you humble. I see a huge group of people that are into the NRL, National Rifle League, and the PRS, Precision Rifle Series, that are on a level of obnoxiousness that is just beyond reproach. And I choose not to compete in those fields of competition strictly because of the ego, the attitude, and the ridiculousness in the level of competition there. It's just stupid. No, I'll stick with F class. I may build a high power rifle, take my shot at shooting Wimbledon Cup. I would love to go and shoot 1,000-yard sling Wimbledon Cup, see how good that is, but I've got to get my scores better on the F class, because if I can't shoot a clean with an F class gun, I sure as hell not going to be competitive with a high power rifle. That's for damn sure. Even though the X ring's twice the size, the X ring's twice the size, but you've got half the support. You don't have a bipod, you don't have a front rest, you don't have a rear bag, you don't have nothing. You've got to lock onto this thing and use your sling and your jacket to support you. That's the only way it's done. Yeah, I'd love to go and do that one of these days. It'd be a nice bucket list thing to go do. But no, I just wanted to, I don't know if I want to type this up or if I just want to do it as like a podcast. But it just hit me, and I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, oh my God, I shot a group so small that I saw a bullet. Well, I didn't see the bullet, but I fired a third shot and I didn't see my group size change visibly from the 60 power scope that I was using. And then you go home and you put the target under magnification and you see this itty bitty little trace of a circle that doesn't line up with the other two circles. And it's like, there's my third hole, there's my third shot. So I didn't flub the shot, so I didn't pull it, so I didn't shoot off the paper completely. Now I'm just amazed, and there's I don't know who's going to listen to this. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but there's people out there that'll, what are you getting so caught up in, and why is this so significant to you? Well, it's a lot of damn hard work, and I'm not fortunate enough to be in the position to really devote a ton of time and energy to this sport and really develop the skills that I need, especially coming into this thing as late in the game as I am. I didn't start doing this stuff till I was about 43, 45 years old. I thought I did long range shooting back in the day when all I could say about that is it was a factory 1891 Argentine Mauser with store-bought surplus ammunition, and I could hold a full-size silhouette, 20 inches wide, 40 inches tall. I could keep all my rounds on that target at about 600 yards out, and I thought that was long range. And I did that with a 3-9 Simmons scope on Weaver bases with a factory trigger that I had tuned a little bit. The gun might have weighed 8-9 pounds. There was no bipod. There was no nothing. It just had bad news written all over it. So yeah, I really didn't start doing long range shooting and doing it right. Precision rifle shooting. Even precision rifle shooting, to the hell with the long range, just precision rifle shooting. I didn't start doing precision rifle shooting until I bought that Remington 700 stainless 5R. So I didn't have anything in the gun safe that was remotely close to being able to keep up with that rifle. And now I have 4 rifles that'll just shoot the lights out, and I'm looking at building rifle number 5, 6, and 7. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm more proud of my daughter, though, because She's still got on the best day of the best group of my life. She still kicks my butt by about 20%. So, you know, I want her to do well. I want her to succeed. And if this shooting thing becomes something that she wants to really pursue, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that she can be a success in doing it. And she's got an interest in archery, so if she wants to go shoot archery, she can do that as well. This is all entirely up to her. It's whatever direction she wants to go, I'll support it. But it's got to be one hobby or the other, because I can't afford the ammo layout for everything. I mean, this stuff is bloody expensive. Anyway, well, whoever's listening to this, hope you got some enjoyment out of it. If it turns out it's only my family, well, you know, these are my thoughts, and have a good one. If it ends up being a podcast or something like that, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. As we say in the current years of YouTube, my God, and I wonder what's coming down. I wonder what will replace YouTube in fucking 20 years, because you know it's coming. You know, technology's going to advance, and it'll be something completely different, something we're incapable of fathoming what's going on. That's another subject. Out.